Hey everyone, and welcome. Think about this for a second. How would you store a list of high scores in a game, or maybe a bunch of temperature readings from a sensor? Well, in the C programming language, the answer is almost always the array. It's one of the most fundamental, most important building blocks you'll ever learn. And today, we're going to master it together, step by step. And to kick things off, I love this quote from Stan Kelly Boodle. It's just a fun little way to introduce one of the very first and most important rules we have to learn about C arrays. Where exactly do they start? So, what is an array, really? Well, at its heart, you can just think of it as a list. But it's a list that has to follow two very strict rules in C. First, it has a fixed size. You decide how big it is when you make it, and that's it. Second, every single item in that list has to be the exact same type. They all have to be integers, or all floats, or all of whatever you choose. Now, let me let you in on a little secret about C. Arrays are kind of an illusion. They're way more powerful and interesting than they look on the surface. We're going to peel back that curtain later on, but for now, don't worry about it. Let's just treat them like the simple lists they appear to be. All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty. Actually, using an array boils down to three fundamental steps. Let's see them in action. First, you have to declare it. You tell C the data type, like float, give it a name, and then tell it the fixed size inside square brackets. So 4 means it has 4 slots. Step 2 is accessing those slots. You use the array's name and an index number in brackets to get to a specific spot, either to read a value or to write a new one. And third, you'll almost always process an array using a loop. A loop is perfect for visiting each element one by one to do some work. And here it is, the golden rule, the single most important thing to remember about C arrays. They are zero indexed. This means the first item is not at position 1, it's at position 0. The second one is at 1, the third at 2, and so on. So if you have an array with 4 slots, your valid indexes are 0, 1, 2, and 3. You absolutely have to burn this into your memory. It's a classic rookie mistake. So you could assign a value to each element one by one, but who has time for that? Luckily, C gives us some much faster, much cleaner ways to give an array some starting values right when we declare it. Now this is where it gets really cool. On the left, you see a basic initialization. We have a 5-element array, and we give it 5 values. Simple enough. But look at the right. Same 5-element array, but we only gave it 3 values. So what happens to the other 2 slots? Well, C automatically fills them in with 0 for you. This is a super handy feature. And that feature leaves us to this awesome pro tip. If you want a huge array and you want every single element to be 0, you don't have to type out 100 zeros. You just use that partial initialization trick. You provide just 1 0, and you're telling C, hey, make the first element 0, and then you know what to do with the rest. But wait, it gets even better. C gives you even more fine-grained control with something called designated initializers. Look at this code. We're specifically telling C, hey, ignore the beginning of the array and jump straight to index 5. I want that to be 55. C then just continues filling from there, so index 6 gets 66 and index 7 gets 77. And what about all the other elements we didn't mention? You guessed it, they all become 0. Okay, so we've seen how to use arrays the right way. Now it's time for a very important safety lesson. What happens when you go wrong? Honestly, this is one of the most critical things for any new C programmer to understand. So let's set the scene. You have an array with 5 slots, numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do you think happens if you try to access slot number 10? In a lot of modern languages, your program would just stop. It would crash with an error. But C, well, C is different. C doesn't stop you. It has no guardrails, no safety net. It will just blindly go to the memory location where index 10 times would be if the array were actually that big. And what's sitting there? Who knows? It's just random leftover data from whatever used that piece of computer memory last. It's pure garbage. This whole situation has a name, and it's the boogeyman of C programming, undefined behavior. It means you've broken a fundamental rule, and now all bets are off. Why on earth would C allow this? It all comes down to one thing: speed. C trusts you, the programmer, to not make these mistakes, and in exchange, it gives you maximum performance. Your program might crash, it might spit out garbage, or, and this is the scariest part, it might seem to work just fine, only to fail in some bizarre, spectacular way later. The takeaway here is simple: avoid undefined behavior at all costs. Okay, for our final section, let's look at what happens when we start using arrays with functions. Remember that little secret I told you about their hidden power? This is where it becomes really, really important.
Okay, so in C, there is this common trick to get the length of an array. You see it on the left, running in our main function. It works perfectly. It tells us the array has a length of 12. Great. But now look what happens when we pass that exact same array to another function. We use the exact same code to get the size, and the result is 2. What is going on here?
And here's the big reveal. When you pass an array to a function, you aren't sending a copy of the whole array over. Nope. All you're really passing is the memory address, a pointer to its very first element. That size of operator inside the function isn't measuring your big array anymore. It's just measuring the size of that tiny little pointer, which is why the trick completely fails. This table makes it crystal clear. You might see a function parameter written as a pointer, or with empty brackets, or even with a size inside the brackets. They all look different, right? Well, it doesn't matter. To the C compiler, all three of these are 100% identical. It sees every single one of them as just a pointer to an integer. And here's the most important consequence of all this. Since the function has a direct line, that pointer, right back to the original array's data, any changes it makes are permanent. The function can reach back into your main function and modify the original array, and those changes are going to stick around long after the function is done. So we've seen that C arrays are so much more than just simple lists. Under the hood, they are a gateway to the raw power of pointers, which of course begs the question, if passing an array is really just passing a pointer, what else can we do with that power? Well, that's a topic for another day. Thanks so much for joining me, and happy coding.